Healthy day, learners! This is Teacher Mayan, together with the Pisaw ABP Mathematics team, congratulating you for doing a good job in your Mathematics A. Today, let's brace ourselves as we start with our first lesson in Mathematics 9, Quadratic Equations and its roots obtained by extracting square roots and factoring. To start, grab your learning activity sheet, pen, notebook, and let's have fun!
Quadratic equations and its roots obtained by extracting square roots and factoring. Quarter 1, Week 1. Quadratic equations are more than just algebraic curiosities. They are widely used in science, business, and engineering. Quadratic equation application helps forecast business profit and loss, plot the course of moving objects, and assist in determining minimum and maximum values. Most of the objects used every day, from cars to clocks, would not exist if someone somewhere had not applied quadratic equations to their designs. Quadratic equations are commonly used in situations where two things are multiplied together and they both depend on the same variable. For example, when working with area, if both dimensions are written in terms of the same variable, use a quadratic equation. Let's have the definition of a quadratic equation. The name quadratic comes from the word quad, meaning square. A quadratic equation is called a second-degree equation because the left side is a polynomial of degree 2. When we say degree 2, it means that the highest exponent of the variable in the equation is 2. We have the following examples of quadratic equations written in different forms. The first two examples are written in standard form. The rest are not. But just like what you have there on your learning activity sheets or LAS, the other forms can be written in standard form. In a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, the value of a should not be equal to 0. Otherwise, it becomes a linear equation. How? So let us show by this example. We have here the equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. If we are going to let the value of a be equal to 0, we are going to have 0x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Further simplifying that, we will have 0 plus bx plus c is equal to 0, or bx plus c is equal to 0. And this equation is a linear equation. So that is the reason why the value of a should not be equal to 0. The standard form of a quadratic equation. The standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Note that the examples given earlier that are not written in this form can be transformed into this standard form of quadratic equation. How do we write such equations into standard form? Let us have the following examples. Example 1. 2x, the quantity x minus 3, the quantity is equal to 15. For the solution, first, we are going to expand the left side of the equation. So, expanding that, we will have 2x squared minus 6x is equal to 15. Next, we are going to apply subtraction property of equality. Remember that subtraction property of equality means we are going to subtract the same value from both sides of the equation to maintain its equality. So for this case, we are going to subtract 15. So we will have 2x squared minus 6x minus 15 is equal to 15 minus 15. Further going, we will now have the standard form of the equation to be 2x squared minus 6x minus 15 is equal to 0. Remember that 0 came from 15 minus 15. For example 2, we have x plus 3, the quantity, x plus 4, the quantity, is equal to negative 12. For the solution, we are going to expand the left side of the equation by applying the FOIL method. So this FOIL method, you have learned this in your grade 8 mathematics. So remember that F stands for the first terms. So we are going to multiply the first terms, x, and it will give us x squared. Next, O for the outer terms. The outer terms are x and 4. So x times 4, 4x. Next, the inner terms. X and 3 are the inner terms. Multiplying them, it will give us 3x. For the last terms, 3 and 4, their product is 12. So we have there 12, and then we are going to simplify, and we will have x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 12 is equal to negative 12. So next, we are going to apply the addition property of equality, wherein we are going to add 12 to both sides of the equation. So we will have x squared plus 7x plus 12 is equal to negative 12 plus 12. So going further, we will have the standard form for this equation, which is x squared plus 7x plus 24 is equal to 0. Remember that when b is equal to 0 in ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, the resulting equation will be ax squared plus c is equal to 0, which is still a quadratic equation. So more examples of quadratic equations in this form we have here. 3x squared minus 27 is equal to 0, and 2x squared plus 10 is equal to 0. Solving quadratic equations by extracting the square root. Remember that to solve quadratic equations in the form ax squared plus c is equal to 0, we can rewrite it in the form x squared over a is equal to negative c over a. Next, after rewriting the equation in the form x squared over a is equal to negative c over a, we can now extract the square roots of both sides of the equation to solve for the values of x. For example 1, find the solution of the equation x squared minus 100 equals 0. So first, we are going to rewrite the equation in the form x squared over a is equal to c over a. Since the value of a in our equation is 1, we will have x squared is equal to 100. Next, we are going to extract the square root of both sides. So extracting the square root of x squared, we have x, and the value of the square root of 100, we have positive negative 10. So the values of x would be positive 10 and negative 10. Now we are going to check our solutions if it is correct. To check if we have correct solutions, we go back to the original equation x squared minus 100 is equal to 0, and then we substitute the values of x with 10 and negative 10. So for positive 10, we have 10 squared minus 100 is equal to 0. So 10 squared is 100 minus 100 is equal to 0 is equal to 0. So 0 equals 0, it is correct. Now for x is equal to negative 10, we have here 10 squared minus 100 equals 0. So 0 is equal to 0 is also correct. For example 2, we need to find the solution of the equation 4x squared is equal to 225. So first, we are going to rewrite the equation in the form x squared over a is equal to c over a. Since the value of a is 4, we have 4x squared over 4 is equal to 225 over 4. So further simplifying that one, we have x squared is equal to 225 over 4. Next, we extract the square root of both sides. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 225 over 4, we have positive negative 15 over 2. So those are the values of x. To check whether we have correct solutions, we again substitute the values of x in 4x squared is equal to 225 with positive 15 over 2 and negative 15 over 2. So for positive 15 over 2, we have for the quantity 15 over 2, the quantity squared equals 225. So 4 times 225, the answer divided by 4 is equal to 225, which is equal to 225. So 15 over 2 is correct. For x is equal to negative 15 over 2, we have for the quantity negative 15 over 2, the quantity raised to 2 is equal to 225. So further simplifying that one, 15 times 15 is 225. So we have for the quantity 225 over 4, the quantity is equal to 225. So 4 times 225 over 4 is equal to 225, which is equivalent to 225, so that is correct also. Example 3. Find the solution of the equation the quantity x minus 4, the quantity squared equals 169. So for the solution, first we are going to extract the square root. So the square root of the square of x minus 4 is x minus 4, and the square root of 169 is positive negative 13. Next, we solve for the value of x. So the square root of x minus 4, the quantity squared, which is x minus 4, we are going to equate it with positive 13 and negative 13. So let's have first x minus 4 equals 13. So to solve for the value of x, we apply addition property of equality. So we add 4 to both sides of the equation. So we have x minus 4 plus 4 is equal to 13 plus 4. So further simplifying that one, we will have the value of x, which is 17. Next, x minus 4 is equal to negative 13. Same thing, we apply again the addition property of equality. So we have x minus 4 plus 4 is equal to negative 13 plus 4. So it will give us the value of x, which is negative 9. So the values of x are 17 and negative 9. To check our answers, we again go back to the original equation and we substitute the values of x with 17 and negative 9. So for 17, we have here the quantity 17 minus 4, the quantity squared is equal to 169. So 17 minus 4 is 13. 13 squared is 169. So the equation is correct. Next, for x is equal to negative 9. We have here negative 9 minus 4. The quantity squared, is it equal to 169? So negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. We get this, it is equivalent to 169. So the value of x, which is negative 9, is also correct. Solving quadratic equations by factoring. Factoring is the process of finding what to multiply together to get an expression. Example 1. Find the solutions of the equation x squared plus 7x is equal to 0 by factoring. So first, we are going to factor out common factors. The common factor of x squared and 7x is x, and it will give us x, the quantity x plus 7 is equal to 0. And then we are going to apply the zero product property by setting each factor of the quadratic equation equal to 0, then solve the equation. The first factor is x. We equate it to 0, so we have x is equal to 0. Next, the second factor is x plus 7. We equate it to 0, so we have x plus 7 is equal to 0. And then, in this equation, we are going to apply the addition property of equality. So we add negative 7 to both sides of the equation, and we will have the value of x to be negative 7. Next, we are going to check our answers. For x is equal to 0, we substitute the value of x with 0 in the original equation. So we have 0 squared plus 7 times 0 is equal to 0. So 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. So that is correct. Next, for x is equal to negative 7. We substitute again the value of x with negative 7. Negative 7, the quantity squared, plus 7, the quantity, negative 7, is it equal to 0. So 49 minus 49 is 0, is equal to 0. So negative 7 is correct. Example 2. Find the solutions of the equation x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8 by factoring. So for the solution, first we are going to transform the equation in standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And we do that by applying addition property of equality. So we add 8 to both sides of the equation, and it will give us x squared plus 9x plus 8 equals 0. Next, we are going to factor the quadratic equation. And the factors would be x plus 8, the quantity x plus 1, and we are going to equate that to 0. So we have x plus 8, the quantity x plus 1 is equal to 0. Again, we apply the zero product property by setting each factor equal to 0. So the first factor is x plus 8 equals 0. The second is x plus 1 equals 0. And then we solve each resulting equation. So x plus 8 is equal to 0. We will have x is equal to negative 8. And for the second one, we have x plus 1 equals 0. We transpose positive 1, and it will give us x is equal to negative 1. Okay, so to check whether our answers are correct, we again substitute the values of x in the given equation. So for x is equal to negative 8, we have the quantity negative 8, the quantity squared, plus 9 times negative 8 plus 8 is it equal to 0. So the square of negative 8 is 64, plus the product of 9 and negative 8 is negative 72, plus 8 is it equal to 0. So 64 minus 72 is negative 8, plus 8 is 0. So 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, x is equal to negative 8 is correct. Next, for x is equal to negative 1, we have negative 1, the quantity squared, plus 9 times negative 1 plus 8 is it equal to 0. Going further, we have 1 minus 9 plus 8 is it equal to 0. So 1 minus 9 is negative 8 plus 8 is equal to 0. Therefore, the value of x, which is negative 1, is also correct.
So, that's it for the discussion. For the activities, please read and understand each of the instructions before doing them. You use the answer sheets provided if you have. Good luck, learners! We know you can do it!